All right, folks, welcome back to the channel. Hope everybody's doing good out there. Today, we're going to do a fun little video on how to pressure wash off the grid away from a source of water and how we get that done, and the equipment we need to get, and also too some considerations that we need to kind of pay attention to and all that sort of thing. So it should be a fun little video. It's a nice little warm afternoon here, about 60 degrees, which is above average. And also too, there's still a little bit of foliage left, a little bit of yellow there from the beech trees and the aspen trees. So we're starting to get close to winter and all that. So today in this video, one question is why do we need to worry about maybe pressure washing off the grid? What's the whole point of that? Where's that come into play? Well, if you're a subscriber to the channel and you've watched the channel for a while, last month I did a video on pressure washing this building here up in the mountains. It's basically my range building. Also too, it's used for family events and different things like that, along with the fire pit. And so basically once a year I give it a nice clean pressure wash. For all the details on that, check out that video. I go into all the different tools I use because we actually clean from the top of the roof all the way down to the ground. So everything got a good scrub from top to bottom, and the building is looking wonderful now, all nice and clean. The other thing too that you might run into, you might have other things, like you might have farm equipment that maybe it needs washed at a remote location, or trucks that need washed at a remote location. The other thing that I use pressure washing off the grid for too is culvert cleaning. So if you look down here, we got a little culvert there, hidden by a few weeds. But the culverts, what you can do is you can actually get a couple of different wands in terms of like the little steel attachment pieces to the wand. So you can buy a couple more of these steel lengths. And so like I have enough, I think, to extend out to like 20 feet or something. And you can connect them all together. You can also get a 45-degree angle one, and you can get 90-degree angle ones as well. And you can get that down into that culvert down there and basically blast out all the mud, rocks, and stuff like that. So I've used it for culvert cleaning as well. So if you have like a small hobby farm or rural property or just a small culvert like that, a lot of times this will help you out and get the job done just fine for those situations. So let's start walking through all of the different things that we're going to need to know, and different pieces of gear we're going to need to get this done. So the first thing that you will need is you are obviously going to need a supply of water. So you have different options, but basically you're going to need some sort of tank that's going to hold that water, and you're going to need to think about a couple of different considerations. What kind of vehicle that you have to actually cart this around, and then also too what kind of terrain you have. So I have very mountainous, hilly terrain, so that's one factor, going up and down hills. I can't have too big of a tank to carry on this RTV 900 that's a Kubota. I call it my little mule. It's very good at carting stuff around. I love it. But you know, it's going to have its limitations in weight. I can probably go maybe about double the size of this, and I'd probably still be okay. But this is the size of tank I go with, and it seems to work pretty well. Now for this, it holds about 30 gallons, and I can actually squeeze in about 35. So you're going to need to do your math. So like for instance, with the pressure washer we have here, that's the Generac, it does 2.4 gallons per minute in terms of its consumption. So if you're going to go full blast with that pressure washer, you're going to need to think about how much consumption you're going to have and how much it's going to use. So pretty much for this tank right here, it's going to give me maybe about 12 to 14 minutes of going, you know, full blast with that pressure washer before I'm going to have to disconnect and go down and get more water from a water source. Okay, so if you have a much bigger vehicle, obviously that can help substantially. So, you know, but the thing is with me, on the type of property that I live on, it's mountainous, and, you know, with basically the trail system and stuff, this works pretty well. You know, it basically gets the job done that I need to, and whenever I need more water, I just drive the mile or so and go get it and then come back. So, you know, it is what it is. But You'll usually find that like if you're going to pressure wash something like this range building here, you know, at most you're going to end up realistically just taking a couple of trips to actually get it done. I think to do the whole building inside and out, top to bottom, I made maybe at most 5 to 6 trips. I'm not quite sure. So, you know, think about what size tank that you're going to need to actually kind of pull this off. And that's one thing that's going to have to factor into everything. Now, the next thing I find which helps substantially is to have some smaller lengths of hose. So for instance, if I do end up having to hook up to a water pump to get pressure, whatever, having some big long garden hose in here from this tank to the water pump is just going to be something that's just going to get in the way. So I found this company a couple years ago on Amazon because I was like, I wish someone would just make some short lengths of hose. And it's this company here called Flexzilla. They make these nice sturdy rubber garden hoses of different lengths of anywhere from like up to 2 to 10 feet. They also make full-size hoses as well. And so that way it's very easy for me to connect from the tank to a pump, for instance. And then also too, at the end of the lengths of hose, I have these valves here that I can turn on and off as I need to let water flow through. So if I do need to go get water, for instance, then what I can do is I can leave all of this in the back of the RTV here, and then I have another length of hose right here with another valve on it. I can disconnect that from the big garden hose and then just drive off with all this in the back of the RTV and go get more water. So the other thing you're going to need to decide is whether you're going to need pressure or not. Most likely in most situations you are going to need pressure to get the water to the pressure washer. Now I have used gravity feed before, like the video I did last month. If I do have like a significant angle on a hill, whatever, I can park the RTV off to the side and the water is going to easily flow down to the pressure washer. Then all good. Then I can go ahead and hook it up that way. And usually it works just fine, except for a couple air bubbles. Sometimes you'll run into issues with that. This adds a little more complexity. So sometimes that's why, you know, if I have that option of gravity, I'll leave it off. But in most situations, you're probably going to need to pressurize the water to actually pump it and get it to the pressure washer. Otherwise you're going to be a bit disappointed. So the one thing that we have here is a 1/2 horsepower electric pump. Now the one thing with this is that once you actually turn it on, it's going to be pumping, and so it's going to keep pushing that water. So I don't turn it on until I'm ready to go and ready to get going with it. Okay. But it works great. It supplies the water right up to the pressure washer. It'll feel just like you're pressure washing right at your house. Just about the same, or even slightly a little more pressure than you're used to, but it works pretty good. Now another thing too to always keep in mind, and I harp on this in a lot of the different pressure washer videos that I do, but having a lot of times some sort of valve or having some sort of quick disconnect, especially with the pressure washer, where what I do, I'll show you the wand right here, is at the end there I have like a quick disconnect here. So anytime I need to attach stuff, it's just easy to do. It'll save you a lot of time. So a big advocate for those. So whenever I need to go get more water, what I can do is I can leave all this just hooked up right here, and I have this extra length of hose essentially on the other end that's going to plumb into my actual garden hose that runs to the pressure washer. So all of this, I can turn this valve off, push all this back into the Kubota, and then essentially drive off and go get more water. Now the other thing, folks, that you're going to need to actually run out to your pressure washer from the whole setup we talked about here at the pump is some length of garden hose. So we have probably at least about maybe probably 100 feet of hose in here. And one thing that I really like quite a lot is metal garden hose that's protected with metal on the outside with a tube in the inside. The thing I find about this compared to a lot of other stuff is that it doesn't get tangled up like rubber hoses do, and it seems to be pretty a little bit better at dealing with a lot of the pressure and stuff. And I just find them easier to move around, easier to roll up, easier to throw in the back of the vehicle, whatever. Personally, myself, I prefer them over the, compared to a lot of the regular garden hoses overall. So this is kind of my preferred way to go. It's kind of up to you which way you want to run with it. But you're going to need probably at least 50, 100 feet of garden hose to actually run out to the pressure washer. That way you can shift the pressure washer around as you actually need to whatever it is that you're doing. And then lastly, what you're going to need is your pressure washer. So you need a good, reliable pressure washer, and I have found this Generac here to be a wonderful pressure washer. Never had one issue with it whatsoever. I actually did a review on it about 18 months ago, so you go check it out. But this is nice and handy. It's easy for me to load into the RTV. It's not too heavy. If you're someone who's smaller and you don't have as much strength, it might be a little more difficult. You might need 2 people to do it. But for me, I can hustle it in there. And one big benefit I like about this is the gas tank holds enough gas where I don't have to be filling it up every hour, 90 minutes or whatever. Pretty much I can go for however long I need to running this to get whatever job done on the property I need doing. So that's one big benefit with it. So you need a decent pressure washer that's going to hold up to it and get the job done over the long term. You know, with a lot of stuff, with the electric ones, not a big fan of those, but hey, if you have to use that, it is what it is. But you'll need electricity, of course, to run that pressure washer also. So not only perhaps having to run the pump, but also too running that electric. So that's why I just recommend like a gas pressure washer like this. It gets the job done. All right, folks, so we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Just a short little video. So hopefully that helped you out and gave you some ideas. If you got any questions or anything, leave it down below. Be glad to answer your questions. If you want me to expand on anything about this, anything like that, feel free to let me know. Oh, one other thing too on the pressure washer. One thing that I love to use to make it easy is, I'll put a link in the description below, but I love these Mingle quick disconnects for all your hoses, and then also too for the pressure washer wand and the pressure washer hose and all that stuff. It's just a big help. It makes it easy to disconnect everything whenever you're done with whatever job that you're doing. And I'll put a link for those down below too. But yeah, so it's pretty easy to actually get it done. I use this all the time now. And you can see with the building here, I mean, it just got the building looking nice and clean last month. And that was a nice, fun video to do. So check out that video also. Again, any questions, let me know. Thanks for tuning in, folks. And we'll catch you next time.